Hello, so we're answering some questions here for Feminism in Action in regards to Just Right, uh, the writing project hosted online at nowrongjustright.org. Some of the questions for an essay. So, one of the questions is why Just Right started. Um, Just Right started in response to my involvement at the Metropolitan Detention Center as an educational assistant. I started working about 5 years ago at Gordon Burnell Charter School, which is inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, and started working with writers. My trade is in poetry, so aside from being an educator, I'm a performance poet, and within the walls of Gordon Burnell Charter School, which is housed at the Metropolitan Detention Center, I found a need or an ability to adapt poetry within those walls. So Just Right, not as it is called now, begun as simply writing workshops via myself, Carlos Contreras. That continued for just short of a year, upon which time I met Deandra Grill, and just short of a year ago, Just Right was born. So Just Right was born just short of a year ago, writing workshops within the Metropolitan Detention Center at the hands of myself, begun just before that for about a year. So it started because I feel like there's a need for art in everyone's life. And Just Right was born because Deandra Grill saw that too was something she believed in and wanted to make bigger, better, and more beautiful. And so now it has its own website. It has an exchange with the greater community and outside world. It has more of a purpose than just art for art's sake, which is beautiful on and of itself. But I feel like we're serving our community, serving individuals, and making more of an impact now than we ever did. Another question is about the future of Just Right, and that is to be foreseen. I believe that Just Right will be bigger, beautiful, more powerful as the time rolls on, because the folks at the helm of it all are determined to make that a reality. Um, that's all in due time, though. We're in the process of becoming an officially sanctioned or certified 501c3 organization in the state of New Mexico. So that is in our future. We're soon to be a nonprofit organization. We're a nonprofit in the pending stages as it is. Our community impact will increase at that point. Our community impact right now is that you can catch us online and you can participate. So right now we have a section for anyone that wants to be a part of us that's called Free Writers. We have people in our community that aren't poets, that are just folks that want to lend their voice to the weekly prompts we give. Those folks can respond via via email to the responses that we send out. Can get involved on our website, so if they respond to the Get Involved email, we can sign them up on our email list and they can respond with written works to the Free Writer section. Our community impact, I think, is in a way immeasurable, but I think can be very gigantic and will prove to be in the years and months to come. I have every belief in the fact that we are reaching a lot of folks, including the families of the folks that are incarcerated, and that network will only continue to expand, as networks always do when they're back behind people that believe in what they're doing. Is it feminist work? We're working with folks in a class called Feminism in Action at the University of New Mexico. I myself have to say that, first and foremost, I am not the biggest buff on what one would consider to be feminist-oriented endeavors or work, but I will say that we work with primarily male inmates, actually solely with male inmates right now, and I feel like one of the ways to improve problems that affect the female gender, may it be through domestic violence, physical abuse, mental abuse, gender inequalities, and otherwise, is to address the folks that are on the other side of that discussion, which just so happen to be males, which just so happen often to be male criminal perpetrators. So if we can get our folks to reflect on the decisions they've made and the actions they've taken so that it doesn't happen again, and perhaps that they teach their children not to perpetrate the same crimes and support the same inequities in our community, then perhaps we are making a difference. So in that respect, I believe that it can very much be described as or considered to be feminist work. I believe I touched on why it came to MDC, but I've been at MDC for just short of 5 years as an outside contractor through the school I work at. Um, we're looking at spreading to juvenile justice systems and corrections facilities, looking at expanding to some facilities in Santa Fe. All those things are to be determined. So why MDC? Because MDC is progressive right now. We have to thank Chief Ramon Rustin for that ability and that allowance. Ruben Padilla, who's the assistant chief there, Natura Padrell, who's the PIO there. All those people are why MDC, because they believe in the progressive rehabilitation of incarcerated populations, which is an incredible thing. It's not always the most popular idea, so we have to thank them for that, and I appreciate them being there and supporting us in this endeavor. There's some questions about funding and how it was funded. It used to be a private contract. Currently, that private contract is under negotiation and up for proposal. So right now, Just Right is a volunteer and solely a volunteer venture as we head towards the designation and certification of the 501c3 and that status. We hope that the funding of this project will be at a federal level, at a state level, and at a private donor level through 501c3 avenues in the future. And as those possibilities become real, then we will update folks as to how they can get involved and donate to the project. Another question is whether or not we believe it to be therapeutic for our population and whether or not they speak about the offenses they've committed. I would say yes to both of those things. Why therapeutic? Because in the 12 years I've been writing has been therapy for me. It helps me figure out things in my own life, reasons why I'm confused, angry, indifferent, or otherwise with this world we live in, and that's exactly what I see in the writings of the students we work with. Oftentimes the things that they've done in their lives, the wrong decisions they've made, the people they've hurt, all come up in their writing. It's a self-reflective process, it's a dialogue process, it's a healing process in my opinion. So all of those things, whether or not they consciously recognize it at the time, I think subconsciously folks are helping to heal themselves and others. We're a support group of sorts, which there's programming in jail facilities and in prison facilities, don't get me wrong, and I'm not speaking bad about any single one of those, but I feel like opportunities to heal can still sometimes be few and far in between there. So I feel really good about the work that Just Right is doing at the Metropolitan Detention Center. We have free riders right now. We have feminism and action class participants. We have riders in the community class participants. Those last two mentioned come from the University of New Mexico. Free riders come from anywhere in this country. Folks that are poets that do what I do. Folks that I just know that are community activists, journalists, bloggers, what have you. They're offered the ability and opportunity to respond at any given time to any prompt we send out. So there is no requirement other than when you get a prompt, you're welcome to respond. Free riders lend to the outward dialogue of connecting our folks back to humanity. Our university populations lend to the discussion of why our folks belong at universities. When I say our folks, I mean our riders that are currently high school students behind bars, who are adults, mind you. If we lose, when I say we, if our riders behind bars lose touch with humanity for too long, I feel like you treat someone inhumanely enough. I hate to use that analogy, but if you treat someone like an animal long enough, they become an animal. So the more we can keep them connected to the outside world, to folks that are learning in institutions that are outside, that believe in them and can see the art and the abilities within them, the more they believe in themselves and the ability to heal, rehabilitate, and return to society and be effective members of that society. So that's why free riders and university participants at large are rolled into this project, because the dialogue created helps people to realize that we're not that different. In the end, we're all just people with experiences and people to learn from each other. And so when we can make those connections, when we can make those realizations happen, I think although it seems silly, trivial, or simple, that's just not the way this world is. And so sometimes we need help to make those connections. Let's see. In the future, it says, how would we involve families? We have every intent of involving some families of folks that have been adjudicated, folks that have been litigated. their cases, I guess I should say, in that respect. Released, moved on to penitentiaries. Those that move on to penitentiaries stay in touch via snail mail. We have a P.O. box that they write to. We encourage folks that are on the inside to ask their families to contact us via our website and our email, because we feel like it should be a family thing. Again, a connection to humanity, a connection to family, an ability to apologize, to heal, to respond, to dialogue. All of those things lend to making our place a better place to live. When I say our place, our Albuquerque community. All these folks, hopefully and ideally, will return to our community one day. So if we can create a community where they exist as positive members and contributors, then why not? We have a responsibility to do that, in my opinion. Touched on funding. How many folks have we helped so far? Without looking at particular numbers and running demographic research, I'd have to say we've helped over 100 folks. We have quite a few folks that have been with us for 6-8 months. We have folks that come 1 week and we don't see again. We have folks that have come for 3 or 4 months. It's really a revolving door of sorts. But that does not make it unimportant. That makes it every bit more important. Somebody comes once and sees the power of what we do. I have every belief in the fact that they might carry that on throughout their life. Some of the folks that have been with us 4, 6, 8 months have every reason to believe that they will believe in their abilities as a writer, perhaps continue their high school education when they get out, and if they complete that, possibly even secondary education. We have every hope that that lends to those things. Well over 100 folks have been touched in the last 10 months plus, almost a year. That's probably well over that number. I would say, to put a safe number on it, at least 150 with quite a few return individuals. 150 unduplicated names would probably be the technical term for that. As far as publicity is concerned, we've been on KOB4's Hometown Heroes, Deandra Grill and I, and we've been on KUNM 89.9's Espejos de Aztlan, with the featuring on both of those publicity opportunities of our work from our students. So it wasn't just us talking about the program and why it does what it does. It was folks speaking their truth via the airwaves or via the television screens. So we have every intent to make public our events and publicize more our opportunities in the community to be involved. We are simply waiting for some official 501c3 federal paperwork so that we can start accepting donations in a way that benefits the folks that donate. And when that happens, we have every intent of blowing this thing up and creating even much larger opportunities for our folks. In 3 words, I will just say Just Right Youth. It is soon to come to youth populations in our city and state. So I think those are the questions that needed to be answered.